Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of our Tales from Tech Support. In today's episode, server versus laptop policy. There's a ghost. Electrical safety is just a game to them. Submission is subpar. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Server versus laptop policy. This happened about 12 years ago to an IT operator colleague of mine, by an IT operator colleague of mine. Cast, night shift IT operator, afternoon IT operator, network manager, and a posh Microsoft wireless mouse. Our desk sat right outside the small server room, so we could easily check on backups and general server status overnight. Shortly after 3 a.m., our overnight IT operator hears a lot of beeping coming from the server room, and then receives a call from the warehouse director that the email service has gone down. After a few checks over 5 to 10 minutes, the emails are flowing again, and the beeping has stopped. Sorted, no further action required. 9 a.m. Our network manager comes into a mailbox full of errors messages and notifications of the servers rebooting overnight. They check Active Directory and can't immediately find the folders containing the server settings and policies. They quickly find them in the folder containing the laptops and panic washes over them as they realized what's going on. The laptops folder have a policy that at 3 a.m., all servers receive the list of outstanding security updates, along with instructions to auto-install them and reboot. So all of our servers inherited this policy, and at 3 a.m. downloaded and installed every single outstanding update, including the non-compatible ones, then rebooted. They cannot be easily rolled back, and while the backups happened around midnight, most of the day's work is well underway, so a restore isn't really an option. 2 p.m. The network manager speaks with our afternoon IT operator as they start their shift, because Active Directory logged that it was then who'd moved the server folder into the laptop folder and caked things up. We only used AD to manage user accounts, account creation/deletion, password resets, so the team was baffled. I then realized what happened when I saw the operator's mouse. These posh Microsoft wireless mice didn't like our textured wood effect desks, and the cursor regularly drifted across the screen. Their wandering cursor had managed to drag the server folder into the laptop folder. They knew that they'd moved something the afternoon before, but didn't think to investigate nor mention it to anyone. The network manager was said and revoked our AD access. This lasted all of 1 week, because they'd made them self-responsible for all password resets and account management. We also replaced the posh with bog-standard wired mice. There's a ghost. I'm an IT professional and work for a major university in the southeastern United States. I am a one-man show for 2 sites with about 90 employees and 100 students. If it's got a plug on the user side of the wall, I get called. I'm 5 hours away from the mothership. We do things a bit different because the university doesn't pay for every bell, whistle, or need out here. The faculty have to pay for things out of their own budget that's generated through grants, and a smallish stipend for discretionary use. If it ain't in a grant, you have to find another way to pay for it. One of my senior faculty killed some keys on her very old, ergonomic, split keyboard. It was old, used up, and needed to be replaced. It's a non-inlaid 10-key keyboard that has an ergonomic mouse. Replacement for the keyboard with a new separate 10-key was $75. Add a new mouse, and it was $140. This of course meant they are going to save the $65, and just go with the keyboard and 10-key. Cool, I'm sure you're aware, this means using 2 dongles because the maker can't imagine allowing all of their devices to talk to one. I swapped out the keyboard, placed the new 10-key, added the new dongle, and went about my day. A week later, the professor comes to me that there's a ghost in her office. The keyboard just randomly types or deletes characters, cursor walks up the screen, just random shit, even happened when she was on a remote connection, but can never be duplicated when I was in the room. Other people have seen it. At least 3. But not me. This professor, G-Bus love her, is high maintenance at times. I love dealing with her because I tell her what we need to do, and she does it, even if she doesn't like it. So of course I overlook her frantic cries for help and go when she calls. I have the utmost respect for her. She's at the top level of her field, but trusts the least educated person in the room when he tells her something, because that's your thing. finally, she couldn't take it anymore. Random sh*t when I wasn't there, remember 2 sites. She recorded it with her phone, sent me the recording, and went to lunch. I happened to be coming on site when she sent the recording. We met in the parking lot, and I could tell that she was upset by the look in her eyes. I promised I'd go find the issue, or I'd replace all the equipment on her desk. I went in, she's still logged on, locked offices, so it's okay, I get to work. Watch her video, holy shit, I can duplicate it. I stand up to check it, and the issue stops. I sit back down, as soon as I touch the keyboard, it starts again. I stand, it stops. I sit, it starts. I stand, it keeps going. She's got an adjustable tabletop standing desk. She uses it religiously. Except when other people are in the room because she's taller than 100% of our staff, so she sits to be on eye level with them. I go to my office 4 doors away to grab my toolkit since I'm convinced it's stuck caps. Then I see it. Her old keyboard. It's on my desk with an inventory notebook laying on top of it. I moved the notebook, flipped the keyboard over, pulled the batteries, and left the carcass laying. Went back to her office, and the ghost was gone. From wall to wall our offices are 48. Her computer is on the southwestern wall, my desk is on the northeastern wall. Her old keyboard was 2 feet in. 2 dongles. When she stood, her body blocked the signal from the old keyboard 40 away. When she sat, it let the signal in. When I'm in the room, she never sits because we're almost the same height, and she steps aside and lets me drive when there's an issue. There was a ghost. It was me and my inventory notebook, laying on her old keyboard all along. Electrical safety is just a game to them. I used to work at a store that sold, but also bought and repaired, arcade machines. One day, I saw a cocktail-style video game with one of the covers missing, exposing several areas where high voltage would be present. Yes, it was plugged in and running like that. So, I go to just unplug it. Dumb and Dumber both protest against unplugging it. I ask them if kids ever come in the store. When they say yes, I explain that there is high voltage wiring exposed, and the store could get sued if a kid puts his hand in it. Instead of unplugging it and having any further argument with them, I decide to just turn it and move it so the hole is up against the wall. This wouldn't block the player's joystick, so people could still play it. I ask where there is wood or plastic we could make an extra cover from, and if one of them can find me a tape measure so that I can measure the empty space. They say they have no idea where any of that would be. Then, of course, Dumb grabs the machine and moves it back to re-expose the hole. Being that the liability aspect is completely lost on them, I try to get them to move it to the back because you wouldn't want the customer to think we're trying to sell something we haven't finished repairing, would you? They still insisted that, come hail or high water, the machine was staying right there, plugged in with the boards and wiring exposed. And yes, that included the high voltage for the CRT, and from the wall socket, not the 12V and 5V for the motherboard. I honestly thought about cutting the darn cord off, but then I'd be damaging the store's property, giving Dumb and Dumber something to report. I emailed the owner, but what I didn't realize at the time was that the computer had a common account for everybody, and the owner just had his email signed in on that computer. Therefore, Dumb and Dumber probably just erased it, and the owner never saw it. The owner wasn't there for me to go get him, and one of the guys did eventually make a cover to put on there, before the owner came back. I so wish I would have taken a picture and shown it to the owner, except the idiots were standing right there, so it would have been pretty obvious I was taking pictures to show to the owner later. Just because they were still there doesn't mean the boss never saw it, but what makes me think he never saw it is that they were just as haphazard and kludgy with their work as before, and still tried to enforce their carelessness on me when I tried to do anything properly in their presence. So basically nothing changed. They even took my wouldn't want a customer to see that comment and decided to spite me by putting other machines that were both in terrible cosmetic condition, and were barely even functional, or didn't work at all. Some also had obvious hack repairs, probably courtesy of Dumb and Dumber. All of which were complete with exorbitant price tags that belonged on collectible arcade machines in near mint condition, not some crap they found in the parking lot of an arcade on garbage day. The store wasn't known for the quality of customer service, especially their repairs, and they eventually went out of business. Submission is subpar. Greetings. I've read many tales describing various boss situations. Some good, some bad. This is one of my tales. I once worked for a local nerd shop who was trying to crack a government contract. One in particular came up. The contact would have been well above what we were capable of providing, but nonetheless the CEO wanted to make a submission in the service tender process. I was given the job of writing it. They had never won a government contract and wanted a fresh set of eyes for this one. My previous life in a different IT world would be useful. Now, writing had never been my forte. Still isn't. Sorry about that. Our little nerd shop did standard IT consulting. Our typical clients were businesses with 1 to 10 terminals. Had some larger, but no significant size. Along came the tender process for whole of government IT services, hardware, virtualization, data centers, internet security, device security, email, VPN, VoIP helpdesk, etc., etc. Many multi-million-dollar, active services to be run. They wanted to be tech supplier/support that rivaled our country's largest telco. I didn't know much about some of the services we were trying to sell. We were literally reselling big IT products. I arranged for some one-on-one with the vendors so I could understand. Yup, in previous life I'd done similar things. Never to this scale, but I understood. I quickly came to the conclusion that me writing the submission was a bad idea. Plus, as stated, I'm no wordsmith. I decided that I'd actually try get the big companies to write their end themselves. They are the subject matter experts and they wanted the government contracts too. So I asked HP, etc. to write their bits and I'll just marry them together. Slowly they trickle in, and I cut and paste into the rough template I made on how I think the submission should flow. Many weeks and one very larger document later, I think I am finished. As I hand the document to my boss/CEO, he informs me of the pressure to get a contract as they'd never won a government contract before. Life for me returned back to my hell desk role. As time passed we find we didn't win and the boss decides to debrief me. Turns out he wasn't happy with the quality of my work. I clearly didn't understand the products as my description of their functions and inner workings were way off and I was poor with my grammar. He spent several days rewriting the submission and he was not impressed. He didn't mince his words either. He blamed me for not winning the contract and blamed me for not having enough time to rewrite it. I didn't have the heart to tell him that the technical aspects were written by the engineers and sales teams of the actual vendors. If he rewrote the work of specialists, it's no wonder they didn't win many contacts. So there you have it, a different twist, trying to win a contract to become tech support. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.